Shalom. I want to ask you a question, possibly one of the most important questions you're ever going to be asked. How much do you value your time? Now, a person that hears that is likely to think to himself, I work for minimum wage, I get $15 an hour. Okay. Another guy hears that, he says, I get more than minimum wage, I get $20, $30, $50 an hour. A third guy is going to say, I'm a doctor, a lawyer, I'm a successful businessman, I make $1,000 an hour. But that's not the question that I'm asking. My question isn't how much you value your time for other people. My question isn't how much other people value your time in your business. My question is, how much do you value your own personal time? The reason why I ask this is because the Torah in this week's parsha says a very interesting thing. Moshe Rabbeinu says, Re'eh natati lefanecha hayom et ha'chaim v'et hatov v'et ha'mavet v'et ha'ra. See that I placed in front of you today life and good and death and evil. This seems to be a very extreme statement that Moshe Rabbeinu is saying. He says a person that chooses a good life is choosing a life of life. And a person that chooses a bad life, who chooses to do something raw, is choosing death, a life of death. Now, I hear that and it seems to rub me a little bit raw, but if you stop and you think about it for a second, an amazing thing comes out. I've had, over the past 20-something years, many students, and I've noticed a very interesting trend, especially with the invention of the smartphone and how available they are. A guy on his free time, you ask him, what do you do on your free time? He says, I watch a movie, I watch a television program, or I play a video game. How long do you do that? Well, many of them for hours and hours on end. Entire seasons they download onto their telephone, and they watch them back to back. Another guy, I remember there was one guy that I spoke to, and I said, how long have you been playing that video game? He says, Rabbi, I don't even need to guess. I can tell you exactly. And he showed me and the status that he had been playing that game for 600 hours. And he said, Rabbi, this isn't the only game I play. Now, what in the world does that attitude mean? That attitude that a person has is, I've got time to burn, I've got time to waste. Now, I'm going to be a little extreme in this statement, but it's a truism. A person who says, I have time to burn and I have time to waste is basically saying, I got a while until I die. So, I need something to pass the time. That's a very extreme statement, but if you think about it, it's very, very true. On the other hand, if you have a person whose time to him is important, the minute he gets home and he takes off his work clothes and his work hat or whatever it is that he was wearing, and he puts it all away, and he took a shower and now he feels like a person. The question is now, what do you do with your time? Well, on the other extreme, you have a religious person or a family-oriented person, and usually they go hand in hand, who then takes his time and invests it in his relationship with his wife, in his relationship with his children, in his relationship with his community. Or even more so, you can invest it in your relationship with God. After all, to quote a very smart man that I heard once, he says, you're going to be dead much longer than you've ever been alive. So it makes sense that you should have those long-range plans and invest in a long-range relationship. A person that gets involved in a relationship with God and looks how to use his time in order to deepen that relationship, in order to broaden that relationship, in order to make it a powerful relationship, is somebody who is going to use his personal time in a powerful way, and that's somebody whose time is important to them. Moshe Rabbeinu finishes that statement and he says, right, I placed in front of you today life and good and death and evil. Says Moshe Rabbeinu, Uvacharta b'chaim, I'm giving you a suggestion for life. Choose life. Because a person whose time is important to him knows that's the only thing he really has. Nobody can promise you health. Nobody can promise you wealth. Nobody can promise you respect. All you have is your time. And the question is, how much do you value your time? Shabbat Shalom.